the Union Executive, the President and the Vice President. So in this video, we are going to learn about the President. What are the qualification? What is the composition of Electoral College? The reasons for direct election, the procedure for impeachment, and the powers: executive, legislative, financial, judicial, discretionary, and emergency powers of the President of India. Also, we will learn about the Vice President. What is the qualification and what are the powers that the Vice President of India possesses? So, let's learn about the President of India. Do you know who is the current President of India? Srimati Draupadi Murmu. She is the second women President of India. Now, let's learn what are the qualifications for the election. So, he or she should be an Indian citizen. He or she should have completed 35 years of age. He or she should be qualified to become a member of the Lok Sabha. And he or she should be a registered voter. Now, let's talk about the Electoral College. Electoral College means who votes in the presidential election. Who are the voters? So, the Electoral College of the President of India consists of the elected members of both houses of the parliament, that is, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And I would emphasize on the elected members. You must keep remember this fact that the elected members of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha votes in the presidential elections. Also, the elected members of the Legislative Assembly of the states and the two union territories of Delhi and Puducherry. As we know, Delhi and Puducherry, despite being an union territory, it have legislative assemblies, right? So the elected members of all the legislative assemblies of the state and the legislative assemblies of two union territories of Delhi and Puducherry. So if anyone wants to be the President of India, at least 50 electors must propose the name of the President and 50 electors should second the nomination. So these are the electoral colleges. So if we talk about the members of Lok Sabha, the current strength is 543 and the members of Rajya Sabha, the current strength is 233. We are only talking about the elected members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, right? Likewise, the elected members of Legislative Assembly and the total numbers of the members of Legislative Assembly is 4,122. It means in the presidential election, 4,896 electors or the voters are there. Now, what are the reasons for indirect election? As we have seen that in the presidential election, the people of India directly do not vote. So what are the reasons for indirect elections? The framers of the constitution wanted the presidential election to remain a quiet and dignified affair. If a direct election would be conducted, tremendous loss of time, money and energy will be involved. And it would be anomaly if the president is directly elected but not given any real power. Because according to the Indian constitution, India is a parliamentary democracy in which the real power rests in the hand of Prime Minister or the parliament. So, if the president is directly elected but not given any real power, it would be an absurd affair. It would be difficult to provide an electoral machinery for an election in which millions of the people would have to take part. And a direct election would place too much power in the hands of the masses that are mostly illiterate. So these are the reasons for the indirect election for the post of the President of India. Now, what is the process of impeachment? Look, the President can be removed from the office for a violation of the Constitution through the process of impeachment. You must keep in mind, there is only one ground, that is violation of the Constitution. So on this ground, President of India can be impeached. The charges for this purpose may be framed by either house of the parliament, either by Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. The resolution to impeach the president must be passed by 2/3 majority of the total membership of the house. Also, a 14 days notice signed by at least 1/4 of the total number of members has to be given. That the charges imposed against the president are investigated by the other house. The president has the right to appear in person in order to answer the charges. He or she also has the right to be defended by a counsel. And if the charges are established by the 2/3 majority of the total membership of both the houses, president is impeached and removed from his office. Unfortunately, this never happened till now. The president also may resign before the expiry of his or her full term by writing a letter addressed to the Vice President of India. Powers of the President of India. Now, let's talk about the powers of the President of India. Executive power. So, he is the head of the Union Executive. All executive orders are issued in the name of the President. Formation of the Council of Ministers. The President appoints the Prime Minister and on his advice appoints the other ministers. He also appoint and remove high dignitaries of the state. Like the President appoint the Attorney General of India, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India or the CAB, the ambassadors, the judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts, the members of the Union Public Service Commission or UPSC and Finance Commission, the governors, the Chief Election Commissioner and other members of the Election Commission. The President has the power to remove the ministers, the Attorney General and the governors. The President of India also administered the union territories through an administrative legislative powers of the President of India. The President has the power to summon and prorogue the houses of the Parliament and to dissolve the Lok Sabha on the advice of the Prime Minister. The President addresses both houses of the Parliament assembled together at the first session after each general election and the address is prepared by the Cabinet. The President nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from 4 fields: art, literature, science and social service. Assent to legislation. The President of India gives assent to the bill. A bill becomes a law only after the signature of the President of India. It also sanctions to the introduction of a money bill. The money bill is introduced in the Lok Sabha with a prior recommendation of the President. So when it is sent for the President assent, he is bound to sign it because it has only introduced in the Lok Sabha after his or her assent. Also, the President of India has the power to issue ordinances. So ordinance is a temporary law issued by the President when the Parliament is not in session. Also, whenever needed, the Governor may reserve certain state bills passed by the state legislature for the consideration of the President. Now, financial powers. A money bill can be introduced only on the recommendation of the President. The contingency fund or the emergency fund. The contingency fund enables the President to withdraw money from this fund to meet unforeseen expenditure. The annual financial statement or the union budget is laid before the Parliament in the beginning of every financial year on the behalf of the President. Also, the President appoints the Financial Commission after every 5 years, which makes a recommendation to the President on some financial matter. Actually, the Finance Commission is constituted to divide the revenue between state and center. Now, judicial powers. The President has the power to grant pardons or reduce the punishment that a person receives. The President is not answerable to any court for the exercise of the powers and duties of his office. No criminal suit can be lodged against the President in any court during his tenure of office. Discretionary power. Usually, the President has to act in accordance with the advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. But in several situations, the President may use his or her discretion and his or her own judgment. Like, when no single political party with absolute majority in the Lok Sabha or general election, the President exercises his or her discretionary power in order to appoint the Prime Minister. It happens several times in the Indian history. If we talk about the appointment of Atal Bihari Vajpayee as the Prime Minister of India, the President of India exercises that power and he appoints Atal Bihari Vajpayee as the Prime Minister without having any majority. But he also has to prove the majority in a given period of time. The President may withhold assent to a bill or send it back to the Parliament for reconsideration if it is not a money bill, because money bill can only be presented after the assent of the President of India. Also, the Constitution has not given a time limit within which the President can declare his assent or return the bill for reconsideration. Therefore, the President may decide what is right. He can even delay that bill for indefinite period of time. This is also known as pocket veto. Also, if the Prime Minister loses the confidence of the Lok Sabha, but the Prime Minister is unwilling to resign and asks the President to dissolve the Lok Sabha, the President will not act on his advice. On the other hand, the President will decide whether to dissolve the House or ask another party to prove its majority. Now, these are the discretionary power of the President of India. Emergency powers. Look, there are 3 types of emergencies. National emergency or general emergency. It is caused by war or external aggression or armed rebellion. Second one is constitutional emergency, also known as precedent rule. It is declared in the case of the failure of the constitutional machinery in a state. Third one is financial emergency. It is declared when the financial stability of the country is threatened. So on these situations, the President of India has the power to declare emergency in all over the country or in any respective state. Now, let's talk about the Vice President of India. So, Sri Jagdeep Dhankar is the present Vice President of India. What is the qualification for this election? So, he or she should be an Indian citizen. He or she should have completed 35 years of age, and he or she should be qualified to become a member of the Rajya Sabha. You must keep in mind that in the presidential election, he or she must be qualified to become a member of the Lok Sabha, whereas in the vice presidential election, he or she should be qualified to become a member of the Rajya Sabha. So that is the difference. Also, the term of office of the Vice President of India is normally 5 years. Also, this is in the case of President of India. The Vice President of India may resign before the expiry of his term of office by writing to the President. Now, let's talk about the powers of the Vice President of India. Executive powers. He is also the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. The Vice President is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha and presides over the meeting of the House. He regulates the debates and proceedings of the House and decides the order of the speeches. He decides the admissibility of a resolution or of questions. He may suspend or adjourn the business of the House when it becomes chaotic. He issues directions to the chairman of various committees in all matters relating to their working. Also, the Vice President, under the following situation, takes over the office of the President when there is the death of the President, or the President of India resigns, or there is a removal of the President, or when the President has gone abroad, or when the President falls ill. In this situation, the Vice President of India takes charges of the President of India. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.